Welcome to our usual hovers. I'm Meeka Nomicon, and today I'm playing for the game A Date with Denial, where we awaken to find ourselves on a date with a mysterious man. The only issue is, we have no memory of ever meeting him. You see, I take the parts that I remember and stitch them back together to make a creature that will do what I say, or love me back. Richard Silken. I could smell two distinct smells. The delicious, savory smell of food and the familiar scent of candles burning. I sat up straight and opened my eyes. Oh, well hi there. That's a rather concerning sight. Have you just been staring at me as I was sleeping? Are you all right, my darling Muse? My eyes adjusted to the darkness. Well, what sharp teeth you have! But you have very pretty eyes. Am I about to be eaten? You appear rather bewildered. Was the wine a tad too strong? I don't know. Or did you, perchance, drug it? You kinda got that look about you. Who are you? In the dim candlelight, I could see the man's expression shift at the question. There was a brief look of offense and sorrow before he gave me a warm smile. Why, I am Zacharias. Of course. We have known each other for quite a while, my Muse. In fact, we were in the middle of a dinner date before you appeared a little disorientated. Zacharias, that name did ring a bell, but as far as I know, I don't remember going on a date with someone by that name. Surely, you have not forgotten. To ensure that you are all right, do you still remember your name at least? Oh, well of course I know my name. It's just absolutely anything about you that I do not recall. My name is Meek. That is quite a relief. You do seem to be less muddled right now. Perhaps we can continue with our lovely dinner date. I mean, are we not still concerned that I've kind of got amnesia regarding you? So I don't trust that the food is also not drugged. So we're just going to look at it. Before me, on a large white plate, was my favourite food. Warm steam wafted upwards from it. You know, I'm not even sure what my favourite food would be. I mean, I suppose I really like chicken. Maybe I'm just going to plate of chicken. That would make me happy. It seemed that it was just freshly prepared. The smell was delicious. I could feel my stomach rumbling slightly. Beside my plate was a glass of wine, full and untouched. Wait, untouched? Then why did you ask me if it was the wine that conked me out? You are mighty suspicious. I'm still not trusting the food, regardless of how good the chicken is. Look at the items on the table. The table contained two large plates, one before me and the other before Zacharias, as well as the usual accompanying cutlery. A bouquet of flowers sat in a lovely vase in the middle of the table. The small blue flowers in the bouquet stood out to me the most. There was a bottle of wine, its label too difficult to read in the flickering candlelight, and a wine glass beside my plate. Zacharias' wine glass was in his hand. I have made sure that your absolute favorite food has been prepared for you. Please, my Muse, partake in the meal. Why are you that keen on me eating? I think I'll just look at the clothes I'm wearing, thank you. I looked down at the clothes I'm wearing. I don't remember owning such expensive-looking formal wear. It was comfortable, however, fitting my form perfectly. I noted that the clothing was the same shade of white and yellow as Zacharias' suit, as far as I could tell, in the dim candlelight. There was a fresh flower pinned on the breast of my clothing. Is something the matter? You are not touching your food. Well, it's mainly because you keep pointing out the food. It makes me rather concerned about what's in it. There is no stain on your suit, my Muse. It is completely spotless. and gorgeous. A fitting garment for someone as mesmerizing as you. Well, that's nice, so, let's just look at Zacharias' side of the table now. We need to be thorough. I gazed over to the opposite side of the table, where Zacharias sat. His plate, unlike mine, was empty. The glass in his hand was half full. Now and then, he did a quick flick of his wrist to swirl the contents in the glass. You know, you're not making me feel better by the fact that you might consume me. Just saying, you've got an empty plate there. We're still not eating, I'm refusing. Take a close look at his wine glass. Is that blood, Zacharias? I stared at the wine glass in his hand. The liquid seemed a little more viscous than the wine in my glass, and had a darker hue to it. Oh, that is definitely blood. Zacharias, is that my blood? Maybe that's why I fainted. Did I faint from the blood loss, Zacharias? Zacharias noticed that I was staring. He gave his wrist another flick to swirl the contents in his wine glass. The liquid seemed to thin out as he did. I bet that's an illusion. Do partake in the wine as well, my muse. Or perhaps, if a strong drink is not your dietary preference, I can request forward preparations of other drinks to your liking. I'm just curious about your plate. Why is your plate empty? Has your food been served yet? Your plate is empty. Yeah, oh, you look rather concerned about that. I have already finished my meal. I apologize, as it must seem rather rude for me to not consume my portions alongside you. But I beseech you to not rush with your meal. Take your time with it, my muse. I will be delighted to simply keep you company. Are you going to watch me eat? That's remarkably uncomfortable. His plate is completely clean. Now then, shall I obtain another drink that would be more suited to your taste, my muse? Why do you keep calling me your muse? I'm not consuming anything. I, really appreciate you getting another drink for me, but why do you keep calling me your muse? Zacharias' eyes widened slightly. You have no recollection of it. I shook my head. He took in a deep breath and sighed, looking a little sorrowful. I am sorry, my muse. Why? Why are you sorry? However, instead of answering me, he perked up suddenly and gave me a grin. I noticed sharp teeth poking out from between his lips. Do not fret. I will be happy to remind you of such a lovely occasion again. You see, I am an artist, desperately searching for a muse for my crafts. We met, and you agreed to become an inspiration for my paintings and sculptures. Shift your focus upon that canvas. He placed his glass down and snapped his fingers. Oh, I see it just appeared. That's a nice parlor trick. I suddenly noticed a canvas a small distance behind him that I didn't see before. It was dark there a second ago. It seemed like a light from the ceiling suddenly turned on just to reveal the canvas to me. Upon the canvas was a painting of me, beautiful and shockingly lifelike. I have been painting you before we began to feel rather peckish. I proposed to dine together with you, and you were delighted to accept. He picked up his glass again as he spoke, swirling the liquid within the glass. I suppose one could say that this is our first date, and I am honored, elated, to dine with a muse of such charm and beauty as yourself. I don't remember any of that, but his deep, mellifluous voice was so soothing so convincing that I could not help accepting everything he said. Wait, am I going under his thrall or something? Is that why I believe what he's telling me? I nodded, not knowing what else to say. Now then, shall I procure a more suitable drink for you, dearest Muse? What would you prefer? Perhaps a fragrant tea? Well, you haven't got the best option, which is of course coffee. Which is the one that we should trust the most? I mean, I'm just gonna go with the plain water, I think. Ah, of course. I shall return swiftly. Do enjoy the meal in the meantime. Should I dispose of this while he's gone? Actually, maybe I should have asked for the tea. Then I could have tried to escape while he was gone making it. He stood up, pushing back his chair noiselessly, and strode off somewhere behind me, taking his wine glass with him. His movements were unnaturally graceful, like that of a dancer. Oh, a vampire. Why don't we just look around us? After he left, I finally began to take note of my surroundings. With him at the table, and especially when he spoke to me, it felt like I had tunnel vision, only able to look at him and listen to him. The rest of the world around me seemed to have melted away. But now that he was gone, I could finally bring myself to look around. I seemed to be in a large, rather dark hall. I was startled and amazed to see that two of the walls was a glass wall, separating the hall from a massive body of water. The ceiling was also made of glass. I could just see what seemed to be the surface of the water through it. It looked a lot like a large aquariums I used to visit as a child, but the water seemed to go on forever. It felt like I was in the middle of an ocean. There were tables similar to ours scattered throughout the hall. It appeared to be some sort of fancy restaurant. The only light in the hall came from the glass walls, as well as the candles on our table, and all the tables around ours. The water beyond the glass walls cast a blue, sickly-looking light on everything. You know what? I don't want to wait for Zacharias. We're gonna stand up and snoop. I stood up, slowly moving towards one of the glass walls. I mean, there's no chance of me accidentally breaking a glass wall, right? I mean, if I tap it, it's not gonna shatter. I hope. As I passed by one of the tables, I noticed that it was empty, even though the candles were lit and the table was set. All the tables were empty. I was the only one in the hall. Well, I mean, there's no food on the table, so there's nothing to imply there actually was other people there. Maybe they just lit all of the candles for, what, the ambience? I turned my attention to the water on the other side of the glass wall. The water was a greenish blue. It faded away into darkness in the distance. Oh, wouldn't it be amazing if suddenly a shark came out of nowhere and just banged the glass? That's one way to scare us. There seemed to be a dim light coming from the surface of the water, shining down through the ceiling. What seemed to be lotus flowers floated on the surface of the water. There were no leaves or stalks, just flowers. There were no fish of any sort in the aquarium. I could hear a distant noise, a very soft, continuous noise. It came from the water beyond the glass walls. I went closer to the glass walls and listened closely. It was unmistakably the sound of a distant voice singing. The voice was far too distant for me to make out any words. All I could tell was that it was a deep voice. And it was an absolutely beautiful voice. I find myself standing completely still, one hand pressed on the cold glass wall, only wanting to listen to the voice. If I could, I wanted to break the glass wall to be closer to the voice, so I could hear what it was singing. Oh no, have I found a siren? Oh, I'm just going into everyone's thrall right now, aren't I? But I was aware of how foolish that would be. You know what? It's either the siren or Zacharias, why not? Keep listening to the singing. I wanted to pull myself away from the glass wall, to get away from the singing, but I found that I could not. It was as if my feet were rooted to the floor, and my hand was stuck fast to the glass wall. I could only listen, and listen. I began to forget why I was standing there. My eyelids began to grow heavy. I felt my head nodding forward. Suddenly, the singing grew louder, much clearer. I opened my eyes and raised my head. I became aware that the voice was no longer coming from beyond the glass wall, but was now approaching from behind me. Wait, how did I get back to my chair? Ah, my muse. The singing stopped, and I could hear Zacharias' familiar voice speak to me. I turned around to see Zacharias standing behind me. In his hand was an ornate glass of water. Wait, is Zacharias the siren then? Was that his voice? Were you perhaps searching for me? I am dreadfully sorry for taking so long. He smiled, politely gesturing back towards our table. Come, dine with me. We're about to have a lovely time together. He moved over to his seat, humming cheerfully as he did. Upon hearing his humming, I found myself walking back to the table. I wasn't even aware I was doing it. I simply walked back without thinking. I sat down, absent-mindedly gazing at him. He settled down in his seat and took a sip from his wine glass. It seemed to have reappeared in his hand. I don't recall seeing him bring it back into the hall when he returned with my drink. After you have eaten your fill, we shall continue with the painting. And after that, if you are not too tired, perhaps you can listen to my singing. I wish to compose a song inspired by you, my lovely muse. So perhaps you can help me. Yeah, that sounds nice. Zacharias? Yes, love. Can I ask you some questions? If it would please you, then of course, my dear muse. These clothes, there's something strange about them. What is unusual about your attire, my muse? Oh, was I carrying a backpack before? Sure, we'll mention a backpack. That was a while ago. You have changed your attire since then. But why was I carrying a backpack before this? I remember having a backpack with a sleeping bag and candles in it. Where are they? You mentioned that I was disorientated before this. What happened? You simply fell unconscious. I was quite concerned, but unsure of what to do. I am relieved that you awoke after that. How did it happen? I believe it could be the strength of the wine. No, I'm calling bull. We both know I didn't touch the wine. That is why I suggested to offer you a different drink with less body. Well, yes, we can actually say it. My wine hasn't been touched at all. Perhaps I was mistaken about the wine then. Please, continue to partake in your meal. It is best to consume it while it is still warm. What is in your wine glass? It looks a bit different from the type in my glass. He gave an aside glance, swirling the drink in his glass again. It is similar, but no, it is a different type of wine, with an addition suited to my palate. I do not believe you will enjoy it. You mentioned you finished your food before me. What did you eat? Meat. A dish of the meat variety. A steak. Your palate, no, for steak is completely clean. I don't buy it. Did you lick your plate clean, Zacharias? His expression disturbed me. Am I going to get myself murdered for questioning him? Most likely. I could see in his left hand trembling slightly as he tightened his grip on his wine glass. That is quite enough questions. I believe we can continue our conversation after the meal. Where are we right now? I've never seen this place before, and I really want to know why you're so insistent on me eating. We are in a lovely restaurant that I have booked prior to our dinner date. Why are there no other customers? I suppose there is a low number of clients today. It is quite an exclusive location after all. Well, we haven't seen any staff either, which is rather weird. How long have we known each other? As I have mentioned, we have known each other for a while now. However, this is the first time we are dining together. That's not exactly a time frame. Oh, no, I entered an abandoned building with 3 other people. Did I? Wait, what happened to the 3 other people? He knows. Oh, oops. The loud noise of glass splintering made me jump. I think we might have pushed him too far. Zacharias had squeezed the wine glass so tightly that it had shattered in his palm. The strange viscous wine, mixed with dark red blood from his palm, stained his white sleeve. He glared at me, unblinking. He did not speak. He did not move. He simply sat still, glaring, as blood and wine flowed down his arm. I slowly got out of my seat. Still he did not move, but his eyes never left me. I began to make my way towards the doors of the hall, cautiously turning around again and again to see his reaction. Only his head moved to watch my movements. The rest of his body remained as still as a statue. I don't think that helps as much. I mean, I'm under the assumption he can probably move incredibly fast. I pushed open the door slowly. At that moment, I heard his chair scraping against the floor, followed by a horrible crash, as if he had thrown the chair at the table. I didn't look back. I just fled through the doors and down the corridor beyond. The corridor seemed to stretch on forever. They twisted and turned, sometimes opening up to a large empty halls, sometimes becoming so narrow that I had to squeeze myself through them. Oh, my darling Muse, return to me, my love. Zacharias' voice floated down the corridor, half talking, half singing, sounding beautiful and alluring. We were having such a lovely time. I kept running until... Oh! Well, we found our 3 friends and an extra, I suppose? Did you gouge their eyes out? They were my friends. The flesh had been stripped off some parts of them, their limbs torn off, seemingly by sharp fangs. Wait, were you trying to make me a cannibal? Did you serve me my friends to eat? My memories came flooding back in an instant. Ever since we met years ago, we have loved exploring old buildings and abandoned places. We would camp out in the buildings overnight sometimes too, so we would bring candles, some food, and sleeping bags in our backpacks. I recall that one day, we entered a condemned building, shunned even by other groups of people who enjoyed exploring abandoned locations. It started like any other normal exploration, until we noticed that the building seemed far larger than it looked on the outside. miles upon miles of rooms and corridors. Some empty, some sparsely decorated with old furniture, strange statues, and framed paintings. We could not find our way out, no matter how we tried. And then we met him, Zacharias, a strange man dressed in a spotless white suit in the middle of an endless abandoned building. He was singing to himself, standing in the middle of one of the empty rooms. And at that moment, all four of us seemed to forget why we were there, why we were trying to find our way out. He beckoned us, and we followed him. He offered us food and drink that seemed to have appeared from nowhere, and then he said he wanted to pick one of us to be an inspiration for his next art piece. My memory of what happened after that was hazy, but I recall being separated from my three other friends, sitting in an armchair, watching him paint a portrait of me, enjoying his lovely singing in between his interesting conversations with me, seeing him leave the room and hearing distant screams, but never questioning what they were. As I paused to take in the horror and disgust, I felt two arms wrapping around my waist. I slumped backwards into his warm, tall body, losing all hope. "Come, my lovely Muse, let us continue our dinner date, shall we?" "Oh, Recapture! I found the third ending!" So I'm betting he's like a siren then, right? If his singing has that effect on us, that we wouldn't even question our friends' dying screams. So I'm curious. Is our food our friends? Am I gonna become a cannibal? Let's try it. Before me, on a large white plate, was my favorite food. Warm steam wafted upwards from it. The smell was delicious. I could feel my stomach rumbling slightly. I picked up my fork and took a bite of my meal. It tasted incredible, exactly the way I liked it prepared. Well, we're gonna continue to eat a bit more. Zacharias smiled as he watched me eat. It was a warm, loving smile, but it twisted a little more than it should, showing off his surprisingly sharp teeth. "I do hope you savor each bite. Do partake in the wine as well, my Muse. Or perhaps, if a strong drink is not to your dietary preference, I can request for the preparations of other drinks to your liking." Okay, well, we're just gonna accept the drink as well. What if there's any blood in our one? "I would like another type of drink if it's okay." "Of course. Anything to make you happy, dearest Muse. What would you prefer? Perhaps a fragrant tea?" "You know what, sure, why not? I'll take the tea." "Ah, of course. I shall return swiftly. Do enjoy the meal in the meantime." He stood up, pushing back his chair noiselessly, and strode off somewhere behind me, taking his wine glass with him. Alright, we're gonna wait for him to return. I sat still, staring at the candles on the table. I mean, the only thing I'm thinking is if his singing can have a thrall on us, then it's not out of the realm of possibility that he can manipulate what we see. I mean, we already know with the canvas, right? So we could very well be eating our friend's arm. In the distance, I could hear a faint, continuous noise. I listened closely and realized it was the unmistakable sound of distant singing. It was a luring, deep voice, too distant to hear any exact words, but still sounding almost ethereal. I listened to it silently, finding my eyelids growing a little heavy as I did. Wait, is this the real reason why I conked out? It was such a beautiful song. Suddenly, the singing grew louder, much clearer. I opened my eyes and raised my head. I became aware that the voice was no longer coming from beyond the glass, but was now approaching from behind me. Ah, my muse! The singing stopped, and I could hear Zacharias' familiar voice speak to me. I turned around to see Zacharias standing behind me. In his hand was an ornate cup of tea. Were you perhaps searching for me? I am dreadfully sorry for taking so long. He smiled, politely gesturing back towards our table. Wait, I didn't leave the table, did I? Or maybe I did when the singing started. Come, dine with me. We are about to have a lovely time together. Alright, so instead of just going for the aggressive questions, how about we do the tame ones? So let's ask about the colours. I picked out your clothing to match mine. It felt appropriate for a dinner date after all. That seemed to make sense. You mentioned that I was disorientated before this. What happened? You simply fell unconscious. I was quite concerned, but unsure of what to do. I am relieved that you awoke after that. How did it happen? I believe it could be the strength of the wine. That is why I suggested to offer you a different drink with less body. That makes sense. My food was still steaming hot when I woke up. You were not unconscious for an extended amount of time, I suppose. What is in your wine glass? It looks a bit different from the type in my glass. He gave an aside glance, swirling the drink in his glass again. It is similar, but no, it is different type of wine, with an addition and suited to my palate. I do not believe you will enjoy it. You mentioned you finished your food before me. What did you eat? Meat. A dish of the meat variety. A steak. Okay, how did you finish your meal so quickly? He gave me a small, sheepish grin. I am a quick eater. I enjoy the taste of meat and finished the dish before you started yours and before you fell unconscious. I apologize for not waiting for you to start your meal. Now please, enjoy your meal, as I have enjoyed mine. Where are we right now? I've never seen this place before. We are in a lovely restaurant that I have booked prior to our dinner date. I mean, actually, now that we think about it, how did you book prior? I mean, wasn't this like a spur of the moment thing? I mean, of course we know this is a whole fake, but still. Why are we underwater? This restaurant is surrounded by an aquarium. I do enjoy being close to the ocean. That is why I desired for a restaurant that looked like this. Why is the water so deep? The aquarium is connected to the ocean, I suppose. That is why the water runs so deep. He was clearly beginning to grow a little frustrated by my questions. What he said didn't really make much sense to me, but I did not know what else to ask in response. How long have we known each other? As I have mentioned, we have known each other for a while now. However, this is the first time we are dining together. Okay, so we're not going to mention the abandoned building. You only painted one portrait of me, so we couldn't have met for long. I believe that is quite enough questions. Perhaps it is time we had a different conversation. One that is less intrusive. Oh, sorry. I was trying to give you the nice questions this time. But first, you must sleep. Sleep and forget. Sleep and let your fears vanish. Wait. You're making me forget this entire encounter again? He began humming. Sleep, my muse. He sang to me, his voice growing gentle and soothing. Sleep and forget. I felt my eyelids growing heavy despite myself. I could not keep my head lifted up. Forget and we shall do this all again. I felt my head resting on the table. Let us have a lovely date, with no suspicious or fear. My lovely Muse. I could smell two distinct smells, the delicious, savory smell of food and the familiar scent of candles burning. I sat up straight and opened my eyes. And we start again. Are you all right, my darling Muse? Oh, ending 2? Loop? Wait, which is the first ending then? Okay, so trying to appease Zacharias only ends up giving us the loop ending. So also we deny everything he wants, and then we move away from the glass to ignore the singing. After some effort, I managed to move away from the glass wall. I turned to where the canvas stood. The light that once shone down on has been turned off, but I could still see my portrait in the faint blue glow. Zacharias was very good at painting. I stood before the canvas, admiring the painting, but also thinking, trying to remember. I did recall agreeing to letting him use me as an inspiration for his art, but how did I meet him? I struggled to think. In the back of my mind, hazy and distant, I began to remember empty corridors, empty rooms, empty halls, miles upon miles of a bizarre empty building, full of mismatching rooms, corridors and stairs. Seeing him in one such empty location, accepting his invitation, and then... But what came before that? How did I enter such a place? I closed my eyes, trying hard to think. The singing, while faint and distant, was making it difficult to hold on to any thoughts. 4? There were 4 people. 4 of us. I could not remember the faces of the other 3. They were but hazy shadows in my mind. But I remember backpacks, sleeping bags, candles, bottles of water. Entering an old building. Suddenly, the singing grew louder, much clearer. Oh, okay, so there's our context for asking about the backpacks. Okay, I think I found my last ending. So I just ate all my food, and it seems to have triggered it. I smiled back at him for the first time. He seemed overjoyed to see my smile. His golden eyes lit up, and his toothy grin widened. Will you stay with me, my Muse? I found myself nodding. Any fear and any desire to remember why I was here, how I met Zacharias, and why I was unconscious at the table, faded away. I was happy to simply continue an eternal dinner date with him. Denial, ending 1. Oh, I am full on under the thaw then, aren't I? Well, my friends' bodies will go rot in the corridors. Until they're eaten, of course. Well, I hope you enjoyed that playthrough of A Date with Denial. I've got to wonder though, how many times previously have we discovered our friends' corpses? I mean, no doubt we've probably just been brainwashed to forget. If you enjoyed that playthrough, I'd greatly appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to this channel. But other than that, it was a spooky day and I'll catch you next time, guys.